Is there a shot North Carolina can outperform my expectations and the expectations of many others and like be a good team in the ACC? I don't know. Isaac Schade of Locked On Tar Heels is here to discuss that very notion, Isaac. So I was perusing our friends at FanDuel the other day, and this is why this popped into my head. I'm scrolling through win totals in the ACC, and North Carolina is there with a win total of, as you just indicated here on YouTube, 7.5. Isaac, I don't know what's happening at quarterback. I don't know if Bill Belichick is a good coach anymore. He has never coached college kids in his entire life. Why is this win total 7.5? Is the schedule just that favorable?
Yeah. Let me tell you some things that aren't on this schedule, Spencer McLaughlin. There's no team named Miami. There's no team named Notre Dame. There's no team named Florida State, although that could be a bad thing. You might love to play Florida State. There's no SMU, right? Like, we'll see if they're good again. Clemson is at home. And so I think a lot of it, yes, is a strength of schedule concern that brings FanDuel to put it at this 7.5, because I was pretty shocked by that number too, quite admittedly, for a lot of the reasons you just said, right? Like, who's under center? Who, all of this stuff, complete remake on both sides of the football and the whole program, right? But there are some winnable non-con games. There's some winnable ACC games. And the way the schedule comes together, Spencer, is also quite favorable, I will say.
If Bill Belichick were to just get close to making the playoff or ACC championship game in his first year, either one of those things, that would slowly migrate into Indiana territory.
No, you just coined that, Indiana Tory. That's how we say it from now on.
Indiana Tory. Yeah, that's where they'd be. They'd be an Indiana Tory. Not in the level of unexpected shock or lack of on people's radar. Indiana came out of nowhere last year. They'd hired who? The James Madison guy. They were 3-9 the year prior. They're not a great program. They've never won 10 or more games. Who cares? North Carolina has had flashes, moments, instances where they've been interesting. But what I mean when I say they could go into Indiana Tory, it's starting to grow on me, is that they could become the story of the year in college football, Isaac, if Bill Belichick navigates this, and all of a sudden you're talking about which NFL job is he going to line himself up for? At the same time, is he going to win the ACC? Is Bill Belichick, does he still have it? Is he back? It'd be all of those things, and he's at least going to have the opportunity. But doesn't that also mean we can judge him kind of harshly in year one? Or should expectations be, nah, he's not supposed to be any good. If he goes out and wins 5 games, who cares?
Yeah, I think there are some tempered expectations in year one. Part of that being he wasn't even announced until the transfer portal was already open, Spencer, right? So there was a lot of catch up that North Carolina was doing, in addition to the fact that Mac Brown had intentionally not created a very large 2025 high school recruiting class either. And so when we look at that, it's almost like you figure out setting a base right now in 2025. You roll the dice. If things go well, great. But in some ways, you're playing with house money this year with a hope towards 2026 being a year where you can really set things hopefully on fire, right? But again, because of the schedule, because of the fact that North Carolina literally doesn't leave the state for a game in the month of November, like having a week before and after Clemson, like having all 4 non-con games up front in this schedule, so you can really start to figure out who you are in the Belichick era. You get Clemson out of your way as game 5, and then the whole back end of the ACC slate are all at least somewhat winnable games. And so, Spencer, I think there is a world at which, even though maybe the roster isn't the level of player or athlete that Bill Belichick would hope to get in 26 and beyond, I think the schedule kind of sets up in a way that really helps him maybe find 5, 6, 7, 8 wins for those who go with the over for this first year.
Last year, more unders hit in Power 4 football than overs. And look, I hammered going into last season North Carolina under this exact same win total, Isaac. I said, go under. Go. This is such an under at 7.5. And albeit it was closer than I thought it would be, it still was an under bet. I'd go under again here just because the last time Bill Belichick coached, I don't even know that he was good at coaching football in the place where he knew and was familiar with for a very long time, but at least he doesn't go into a gauntlet here. I hope we're not overlooking Duke on that schedule, though, because the Blue Devils, Isaac, I tell you what, that's a program that's going this way,
Yes.
up and to the right. You know, where you want to go when you're presenting bar charts and things in business presentations. I've never had a real job, but I'm
obviously because you just called a bar chart.
Bar chart.
We're looking for a line graph there.
Line graph.
There
we go. I haven't done algebra in a long time. I just kept talking for a living. But the Duke game certainly pops into my head as, hey, what if Bill Belichick wins that game? Because Duke should be ahead of where North Carolina is. They've got an $8 million quarterback over 2 years in Darian Mensah coming over from Tulane. Second-year head coach. Manny Diaz quietly had a great first season. I mean, would that be the one? Like, if I were North Carolina looking at the schedule, as favorable as it is, I'd say, you know what? If Bill Belichick beats Duke, lose 10 other games, and I won't really care that much. Maybe
that and the fact that's the penultimate game of the season at home in Kenan, by the way. Before, though, Thanksgiving week, the rivalry game has been NC State for a while now, and Carolina is on a nice little losing streak to the Wolfpack. So those two games back-to-back, Spence, to wrap the regular season, I think will tell us a lot. And oddly enough, or funnily enough, ironically enough, whatever we want to say, the last 3, 4, 5 games of the season have told the tale for Carolina now 3 years in a row, right? Where the 2 years of Drake May as starter. Carolina had these hot starts, and then the exact opposite of your line graphs you're talking about over there is what Carolina did on the back end, although it was a precipitous drop straight down rather than that, incline that you were talking about. Spencer, one other thing about the schedule, can I just point out, it's just a random quirk that I find hilarious. You ready for this?
Yes, I'm ready.
Literally every game of this schedule flip-flops home and away. Never 2 in a row does Carolina ever play two at home in a row.
Really? Not a single time.
Literally the entire season. Home away, home away, home away, home away, home away, home away. That's the season. How's that?
I don't know that I've ever seen that before.
Yeah. Well, now you have. Go look at Carolina's 25 season and you will see it.
Huh. You learn something new every day. Here's something new I'd like to learn from you before I let you go, Isaac. North Carolina needs who as a transfer to be really good for this team to, let's say, go over that 7.5 win total, win 8 or 9 games?
I'd love to just say Steve Belichick. And the reason I say that is because he just brought this whole cadre of Washington players with him. But I want to highlight specifically cornerback Thaddeus Young. He's a 6'1", 185 cornerback that I think for a couple reasons. A, I think he's going to be very good. He's looked at as a top 50 transfer player in the nation. But also it's a positional area of weakness for Carolina over and over and over again lately. I mean, which we could probably just say defense and let that be an umbrella truth. But specifically the secondary has really, really struggled in Mac Brown 2.0. So I think Thad Young is going to be very helpful. But linebacker Kamori House comes over with him from Washington. Safety Peyton Waters as well. I've got a lot of excitement about all three of those guys. And then I know Steve Belichick's Mr. Defense, but he also brings over a wide receiver named Jason Robinson. This is a young man that many people are not going to pick, not going to see, but I look at him and what he does, and he's got that Bill Belichick receiver mold to him. So whether it's this year or maybe year 2, I'm just really curious to see how he fits in Chapel Hill.